The scrapyard on Terminus 7 stretched for kilometers, a graveyard of starships and dreams beneath twin violet suns. John wiped grease from his hands onto coveralls that had long forgotten their original color. 23 years he'd been fixing broken things, engines, hulls, lives that drifted through his workshop seeking salvation in welding torches and replacement. Parts. The Dragon arrived on a Thursday. John heard the commotion before he saw it. Angelina's voice cutting through the usual sounds of his workshop, sharp with urgency. "John, I need your help. Now." He emerged from beneath a courier ship to find his assistant standing beside something that defied every law of biology he understood. The creature sprawled across his workshop floor measured 15 meters from snout to tail, covered in scales that gleamed pure white like polished bone. Its wings, magnificent even in their broken state, twitched uselessly against reinforced plating that had been crudely bolted to its spine. "What in the seven systems?" John breathed. "It's a Draconi," Angelina said, her medical scanner already out and reading, "from the alabaster peaks of Kryn 4. The slavers caught her 3 years ago. They've been using her to haul cargo shipments, John. They paralyzed her wings so she couldn't escape." The dragon's eye, massive and golden, tracked John's movement. Intelligence burned there, and something else. Shame, perhaps, or resignation? "The slavers abandoned her when she couldn't work anymore," Angelina continued. "She's been left to die." John had encountered many species during his decades as a mechanic. The galaxy was vast, filled with beings of every imaginable configuration, but the Draconi were legend, ancient, powerful, and fiercely independent. To see one reduced to this, "The veterinary center won't take her," Angelina said quietly. "They say she's too far gone, that euthanasia would be mercy." John knelt beside the dragon's head. Up close he could see the tremors that ran through her body, the shallow breathing that spoke of pain beyond measure. The cybernetic implants along her spine weren't just crude. They were torture devices jamming her neural pathways, preventing signals from reaching her wings. "Can you help her?" Angelina asked. Every rational part of John's mind screamed no. He was a mechanic, not a xenobiologist. He fixed ships, not living creatures that predated human spaceflight by millennia. The Draconi's biology was completely unknown to him. One wrong move could kill her. But he'd seen that look before. In the eyes of refugees who'd lost everything, in the desperate faces of colonists whose ships had failed them light years from home. The look that said, "You're my last chance." "I'll try," John said. The work consumed him. For 3 weeks, John barely slept. He studied every scrap of Draconi biology he could find in the galactic databases, precious little as the species guarded their privacy fiercely. He mapped the dragon's nervous system with equipment designed for starship diagnostics, cross-referencing with mammalian and reptilian neural patterns from Earth's databases. Angelina stayed by his side, monitoring vitals, administering nutrients through an improvised IV system they'd constructed from ship fuel lines and medical supplies. The dragon, they'd taken to calling her Pyra, though neither knew if she had a true name, watched everything with those ancient golden eyes. "The implants have to come out," John finally announced. "But they've fused with her spinal column. If I just pull them, she'll die. So what do we do?" Angelina asked. John stared at his workbench, at tools designed to repair the most complex machinery in the galaxy. Then he looked at Pyra, at the magnificent creature reduced to immobility. "We rebuild," he said. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy, a reputation for being stubborn, creative, and utterly unwilling to accept that something couldn't be done. Where other species saw impossibilities, humans saw engineering challenges. Where others accepted limitations, humans built solutions. John fabricated neural bridges using techniques borrowed from prosthetic limb technology. He created biocompatible conduits from materials meant for radiation shielding. Every component had to be custom-made, every connection tested and retested. One miscalculation would mean permanent paralysis or death. Angelina assisted with steady hands and steadier nerves, her medical training proving invaluable as they navigated the alien anatomy. Together, they worked in a rhythm born of years of partnership, speaking in shorthand, anticipating each other's needs. The day of the surgery arrived like a storm, inevitable and terrifying. 16 hours they worked. 16 hours of microscopic precision, of removing the torture devices piece by piece while simultaneously installing the neural bridges that would reconnect Pyra's brain to her wings. Sweat poured down John's face as he soldered biomechanical connections smaller than a grain of sand. His hands cramped, his eyes burned, but he didn't stop. "Last connection," Angelina whispered as the final bridge clicked into place. They sealed the surgical site with synthetic flesh that would bond with Pyra's natural scales. Then they waited for 3 days. Nothing happened. Pyra lay silent and still, her breathing shallow, her eyes closed. John began to fear he'd failed, that his arrogance in attempting the impossible had only prolonged her suffering. On the 4th day, at dawn, when the violet suns painted the scrapyard in shades of amethyst and rose, Pyra's wing twitched, not the involuntary spasm they'd seen before. A deliberate movement, small, tentative, but unmistakably intentional. John rushed to her side, Angelina right behind him. They watched, hardly daring to breathe, as Pyra's eyes opened. The golden orbs fixed on John, and for the first time since her arrival, he saw something new there. Hope. Over the following weeks, Pyra's recovery accelerated. The twitches became movements. The movements became flexing. She began to stand, her massive form rising from the workshop floor where she'd lain broken for so long. John and Angelina supported her through every step, adjusting the neural bridges, fine-tuning the connections. The day Pyra first extended her wings fully, John felt tears stream down his face. They spread like clouds across his workshop, pristine white membranes catching the light, transforming the mundane space into something ethereal. But flying, truly flying, remained beyond her reach. The wings moved, but the strength needed for flight, the complex coordination of muscle and nerve, those required time and practice that John's small workshop couldn't provide. "She needs space," Angelina said one evening. "She needs sky." John knew she was right. He'd given Pyra back her mobility, but this scrapyard was still a prison. She belonged among the stars in the vast spaces where dragons were meant to soar. They arranged transport to a rehabilitation facility on Kryn 4, a protected preserve where Draconai who'd been injured could recover. The day Pyra left, she pressed her massive snout against John's chest, a gesture of such profound gratitude that words would have diminished it. "You saved me," her eyes seemed to say. "You gave me back my sky." John never expected to see her again. He returned to his work, fixing broken ships, helping the desperate and the lost. Months passed, then years. 3 years after Pyra's departure, John stood outside his workshop, enjoying the evening air. A shadow passed overhead, impossibly large, moving with impossible grace. He looked up to see white scales gleaming in the dying light, wings that stretched wider than any starship, carrying their owner through the atmosphere with effortless majesty. Pyra circled once above the scrapyard, her flight as perfect as the day she was born. Then she was gone, disappearing into the violet sky, leaving John standing in wonder. Angelina stepped beside him, following his gaze. "Did you ever doubt?" she asked. John smiled, thinking of all the times he'd almost given up, all the moments when failure seemed certain. "Every single day," he admitted. "That's what makes it a miracle," Angelina said. "Not that you didn't doubt, but that you kept going anyway." In the galaxy's vast databases, the species known as humanity held many distinctions. They were newcomers, primitive in some technologies, advanced in others. They were stubborn, creative, compassionate, and fierce. But perhaps their greatest trait was this: when faced with the impossible, humans didn't accept defeat. They grabbed their tools, rolled up their sleeves, and got to work. Because to a human, nothing was truly impossible. Some things just took longer to fix. High above Terminus 7, a white dragon danced among the stars, forever free, forever grateful to the mechanic who'd refused to let her die. And in his scrapyard workshop, John returned to his work, ready for the next broken thing that needed saving. After all, that's what humans did best. The end.